Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. My name is Erica, I'm with UMBC Recreation, and today I'll be teaching core yoga. If this is your first time tuning in with this class, welcome first of all. I want you to know this class can be a little physically demanding, so maybe have some water on hand, but don't fret. I always offer modifications to make things a little more easier or accessible to someone who's just learning yoga or who has never taken this class before. If this is not your first time and you're a returning student, I want to thank you guys for coming back. Can't thank you enough for joining me again. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone to always listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, maybe take a step back. If you're feeling tired, it's okay to take a break. And if you have any existing medical conditions, make sure you check with the doctor before you start any exercise regimen. So before we start to pick up our intensity for today, we're going to start nice and slow with the warm-up, get our body and our muscles moving. We're going to start in a tabletop position facing the front of our mat. So on our hands and our knees stacked under the hips and wrists stacked under the shoulders. Make sure fingers are spread nice and wide. And we want a nice active tabletop, so lift out of the shoulders, drawing the belly back towards the spine. We'll take a few cat and cow, so round the spine into cat pose, tucking chin to chest. Slowly, we're going to lift the spine and tailbone, arching the back, gazing up towards the ceiling. Use your exhale to round your spine into cat, chin to chest. Your inhale to lift and arch. Keep at this for the next few seconds or so, maybe 15 seconds, moving at your own pace. Rounding on the exhale. Inhaling to arch, loosening up the muscles around the spine. Maybe finding a little rock forwards and backwards. Then settle back into a neutral tabletop position. Take your left hand and we're going to flip the palm, so top of the hand to the mat, warming up the wrist. And then flip the hand back. Do this a few times with the same hand, top of the hand to the mat, back and forth. Warming up those wrists for our planks a little later in the class. And then do the same with the right hand. Now turn the fingertips facing towards you, pressing the palms to the mat. Just take a few breaths here. Turn the fingertips so they're facing towards the long edge of your mat, and gently rock side to side. Settle into stillness, turning the fingertips back towards the front of your mat. And one hand at a time, just sort of wring the wrist and the hand out. If your wrists feel pretty sensitive, just know that later in the class, you're always welcome to take plank on your fist rather than flat on your hands. This is a little easier on the wrist for you. Lift up to the fingertips and step your right foot into lunge. So ankle should be right below the knee. You can manually place your foot into alignment if you need. A few inches at a time, we're going to inch this right foot forward and flex the foot, getting a nice stretch on the back side of the leg. Lift up to the fingertips as much as you can to lengthen the spine, draw the belly in. Maybe you inch that foot a few more inches forward and flex the foot until you get to your max. And I want a comfortable max, so somewhere that you can breathe comfortably. Maybe the leg fully extends, maybe not. Take a few breaths here, just relieving stiffness in the right leg. If your spine has rounded as you extended the leg, maybe walk that leg back in just a few inches. We want nice long spines and deep breaths. And then step the foot back into alignment, ankle below knee. Bring the fingertips back down to the mat if you lifted some of the fingers up. And extend the right leg long behind you, pointing through the toes, keeping heel in line with hip. Bend the knee and start to make some circles with the hip. Nice and big. Make sure to reverse direction so you go both ways. And settle back to tabletop. You can stay up on your fingertips for now. Step your left foot up into lunge. Lengthen the spine, draw belly in. And inch the foot forward, flexing the foot once you get to your max. Take a few breaths there with the foot flexed. Remember that the spine stays nice and long. Bring the foot back to lunge, ankle below knee. Extend left leg long behind you, point through toes. Bend the knee and give me some hip circles. And then reverse direction. Let's loosen up those hips. Settle back into tabletop with hands flat. Bring elbows down to the mat, stacked under the shoulders. Fingertips are still facing forward. Gently lower the head into puppy pose, lengthening the spine here. If you want a little more opening in the chest and the shoulders, you can inch the elbows forward. Keep pressing into the elbows to lift out of the shoulders. Taking a few breaths here. Slowly send the hips down to the heels into child's pose, forehead to mat. And slowly round the spine back to cat pose on our hands and our knees, spine rounded, chin to chest. And relax back to tabletop. Spine is flat. Lift up to the fingertips for me once again. Extend the right leg long behind you. And then draw the right knee in towards the chest, into crunch. Rounding the spine, lifting the knee as high as you can. And then extend the leg behind you once again. Warming up the core now. Give me a crunch, knee to chest, round the spine to lift that knee nice and high and step the foot into lunge. Place the foot there manually if you need. Draw a nice deep breath in through your nose and lift the right arm overhead. Exhale out through the mouth, hand comes down to the floor. Nice slow movement and nice deep breath. Inhale through the nose to lift the arm. Exhale to lower. Last time, deep breath in, draw the belly in as you twist, and exhale, hand to mat. Extend the right leg long behind you, point through toes, keep it active, and return to tabletop. Left leg extends. Give me a crunch, knee to chest, around the spine, draw belly in, lift everything up. Extend the leg behind you. Take a nice deep breath in. Use your exhale to crunch, draw the knee towards your chest, and step the foot through into lunge. Next, inhale, lifts the left arm to the ceiling, draw the belly in. Exhale, hand to mat. Deep breath in, arm comes up. Exhale. Last time, slow breath in and slow breath out. Extend the left leg behind you, point through the toes. Return to tabletop. Settle to child's pose, hips to heels. Leave arms extended down the length of the mat and forehead to mat. Make sure knees are separate, but keep the toes touching, making a little space for your belly. Take a few breaths here to finish our warm-up. Child's pose will always be our resting pose, but if you're uncomfortable in this pose for any reason, you're more than welcome to take puppy, back on the knees and on the elbows. If you're in child's pose, maybe rock the hips gently side to side. And you could do the same in puppy. Slowly come back to a tabletop position. And lift up to the fingertips, preparing for our crunches. If you want to make your crunches a little difficult, meaning they were easy with your fingertips on the mat, you can take your crunches with hands flat. It'll make them a little more difficult to round the spine and step the foot through. It's up to you. If you try something one way and it's not what you expected, you can always step back. You don't have to commit. Everyone extend your right leg behind you, pointing through the toes. Give me a crunch, knee to chest, around that spine, pull the belly in and step the foot into lunge. Tuck left toes onto the mat and lift that knee in the air, raising the hips as you go. You can lift up to the fingertips now, hands were flat, lengthen the spine. Step up to half lift, so left foot steps up to meet the right. We bring our hands to our shins and lengthen the spine, drawing shoulders down the back, gaze is down towards the floor, stretching long out through the crown of the head. Bend the knees into forward fold, dropping belly to thighs. Let the arms and head hang heavy. Rock the weight into the balls of the feet without lifting up the heels. Keep hips reaching high towards the ceiling and belly drawing in. One vertebrae at a time, we're going to round our spines up to a standing position. Leave your chin tucked to your chest until you make it all the way up. And then chin lifts and gaze forward. Give me a nice deep breath in through the nose. Lift arms out at your sides and overhead. Exhale out through the mouth as you lower hands down by your sides. So that finishes our warm-up for today. We're going to move into a little more core work and start to pick up our pace. So before we jump into the practice, I'm going to demo our plank sequence for the day. Every week we have a different sequence. So I'm going to demo the first time through, just watch and pay attention, and then we'll tie it into the class together. So we're going to start in a plank position, wrists under shoulders. Heels in line with hips, in line with shoulders. We don't want any low hips. We don't want any really high hips. So check your alignment. Make sure you're lifting out of the shoulders, belly, core, thigh, all active. Today we're going to start with leg lifts. So we'll lift and lift, shoulder tap and shoulder tap. Remember that you can always take these on your fist to protect your wrist. And when we do our lifts, we want to make sure we do them nice, slow, and controlled. So maybe 1, 2, 1, 2. If I just throw my leg up there, I'm not really feeling any engagement in my core. So it's important to go nice, slow, and controlled so we feel that activation in our core, asking our core to do a little work. So just so that you know it in real time, I'll always give us a countdown. I'll say we'll start our core work in 3, 2, 1. Lift, lift, shoulder tap, and shoulder tap. 3 times. Lift, lift, shoulder tap, shoulder tap. We're going to do that 3 times. I'm just going to demo twice right now to save on time. We'll lower down to forearm plank. Remember, still in alignment, and we'll hold for 5 here before we release to our bellies, and we'll move on. If when you get to forearm plank, you're already completely pooped, that's okay. You don't have to hold the forearm plank. You can totally skip it, drop to your belly, and wait for us there. Remember, always listen to your body. That's more important than trying to just get through class and do everything. Honor your body and your needs. So let's get started. We're gonna start at the top of our mat with our feet hips width distance apart. We're gonna start by just standing up nice and tall, arms at our sides, shoulders drop down the back, extending tall up towards the ceiling, out through the crown of our head. Make sure tailbone's tucked long towards the floor and belly's active. Just take a breath or two here, in through the nose and out through the mouth. On your next inhale, slowly lift the arms overhead, looking up towards the ceiling. Exhale out through the mouth into forward fold, belly to thighs. Rise to half lift, flattening the back, hands to shins, and step back into a plank position. We'll take our first set of plank work here in 3, 2, 1. Lift, nice and slow. Lift, shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Lift, lift, shoulder tap, and shoulder tap. Lift, you don't have to get much height. Shoulder tap and shoulder tap. Lower to forearm plank, make sure you're still in alignment. Check back and look. We're holding for 5, 4, don't hold your breath. 2, and 1. Release to the belly, let go. Place hands under shoulders, elbows facing up towards the ceiling. Lift the chest to baby cobra, drawing the belly in, no pressure in the hands. Now press into the hands, into child's pose, hips to heels, or taking your puppy pose, whichever you prefer. Take a breath or two here, and slowly come back to a tabletop position. Extend your left leg behind you, preparing for our crunches, so maybe lifting up to the fingertips. Give me a crunch, knee to chest, around the spine, and step the foot through into lunge. Lift the right knee off the mat, lifting up to fingertips now. Stepping up to half lift, hands to shins, back is flat. Lower to folds, belly to thighs, arms and head hang. And one vertebrae at a time, we'll rise up to a standing position. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale to lift the arms overhead. Exhale to forward fold. Inhale to half lift, flattening the back, and step into a plank position. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. Lift and lift. Shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Lift and lift. Shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Last time, lift the feet and tap the shoulders. Take your forearm plank, hold it here for 5. Don't hold the breath. We're holding here, and release, let go. Inhale, lift the chest, elbows up to ceiling, and press to child's, hips to heels. Just a breath or 2 here. We're picking up our heart rate. Slowly rise back to a tabletop position. Extend the left leg behind you. Give me a crunch, knee to chest, round the spine, and step the foot through into lunge. Lift up to the fingertips, stepping up to half lift, flattening the back. Lowering to folds, belly to thighs, gently bend those knees. And slowly roll up to a standing position. Last time through, inhale, lifting arms overhead. Exhaling to forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flatten the back. Exhale as you step back into plank and resume your normal breath here. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Lift and lift. Shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Keep it going, nice and steady. Last time, lift those feet. Tap those shoulders. Take your forearm plank. If you want to amp your forearm plank up here, Keep with the leg lifts. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not. We're holding and release. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale to child's. Breathe here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to break out in a little bit of a sweat. Slowly rise back to tabletop. Extend your left leg behind you, getting ready to crunch. Draw knee to chest, hold it here, and step that foot into lunge. Step up to half lift, flattening the back. Lower to fold, belly to thighs. And rise up to standing. Take your time, one vertebrae at a time. Give me a nice deep breath in through the nose, arms overhead. Exhale out the mouth, just lower the hands down by your sides. If you're like me and you have a tendency to move around on your mat, go ahead and step back at the top of your mat, feet hips width distance apart. Stand up nice and tall, just like we started before. We're going to switch it up a little bit this time. Deep breath in, lifting the arms overhead. Exhaling to fold, belly to thighs. Rising to half lift on the inhale. Exhale as you step back into plank and drop the knees into tabletop. So knees are on the mat. Extend your right leg behind you, pointing through the toes, holding here. We're getting ready to crunch, so lifting up to the fingertips if you prefer. Draw knee to chest, round the spine. We're going to hold for 5. Don't hold the breath. Keep that knee lifting as high as you can, and step the foot into lunge. Lift the left knee off the mat, lifting the hips and sending the chest forward, drawing belly in. Take a breath or two here. Make sure right knee stays stacked right over the ankle. We're going to walk to face the left side of our mat. So walk your hands to the long edge of your mat. As you do, you're turning your toes to face the long edge of your mat. And if you need to, bend your knees to keep your fingertips on the floor. Draw your belly back towards your spine for some stability. Bring one hand to your hip. Bring your other hand to your hip and slowly rise up to a standing position. Turn the feet out. Excuse me for having my back to you. So toes are facing away from one another, and make sure feet are planted firmly on the mat. On your next exhale, we'll lower into goddess pose, stacking knees right over the ankles, sending hips down towards the floor. Keep the chest nice and lifted. If you're not feeling enough of an opening in your hips here, separate your legs a little wider apart and just take some deep breaths here. Pretty noticeably, we're opening the hips, but we're also lengthening our spine here. Nice deep breaths. Go ahead and straighten the legs, rise up to standing, and lift the arms to shoulder height. Reach to the front of your mat and take a side bend, left arm to the ceiling, gaze up towards the ceiling, belly's drawing in. Try not to use your right hand to prop you up. Instead, you're using the strength of your core. Make sure you're still breathing. And slowly rise up, arms at shoulder height. Reach to the back of your mat, take a side bend, right arm up this time, and gaze to ceiling. Slowly rise up. Turn both feet forward so they're facing towards the front of your mat. Or I'm sorry, the long edge of your mat, excuse me. Then right foot only turns forward towards the front of your mat. Windmill the arms down into lunge, so hands or fingertips come down to the mat. Right knee stacked over ankle. Left heel now lifts off the mat. We're back in lunge. Step back into a plank position, and we'll start our plank work in 3, 2, 1. Lift and lift, shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Keep it going. Nice and steady. Keep that core active. Last time. Shoulder tap, shoulder tap. Take your forearm plank. It's up to you if you want to keep with those leg lifts. Don't feel like you need to. Don't hold your breath. And slowly release down to belly. Lift the chest, baby cobra. And exhale to child's, hips to heels. Take a much needed rest here. Deepen your breath. Let your forehead rest on the mat if you're in child's pose. Slowly meet me back in tabletop. Extend the right leg behind you, preparing for a crunch. Draw knee to chest, no hold this time. Step foot right into lunge. Step up to half lift, flattening the back. Lower to folds, belly to thighs. And rise up to standing, one vertebrae at a time. Remembering that chin comes up from the chest last. Nice deep breath in to lift the arms overhead. Slow exhale out into forward fold. Belly comes down. Inhale to half lift. Exhale as you step back into plank and drop the knees into tabletop. Extend your left leg behind you. Point through toes. Give me a crunch, knee to chest. We're gonna hold this one here. Keep that knee nice and high. Don't hold your breath. We're holding here. And step the foot into lunge. Lift up to fingertips. Lift your right knee off the mat. Hips up, send the chest forward. Draw belly in. We're gonna walk to face the right side of our mat this time. Turning our toes to face the long edge of the mat. Bend the knees if you need. Activate that core and bring hands to hips one at a time. Slowly make your way up to standing. Keep the belly drawing in. Turn the toes to face away from one another. And on your next exhale, bend the knees into goddess, knees over the ankles. Take a few breaths here. See if you can send those hips a little closer down towards the floor. And on your next inhale, rise back to standing, lifting the arms to shoulder height. Reach to the back of the mat to start this time. Take a side bend, gaze up to ceiling. Slowly rise up, arms at shoulder height. Reach to the front of your mat, take your side bend, gaze is up. Nice deep breaths. Belly is active. Inhale to rise back up. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn the feet to face the long edge of your mat. Left foot turns forward. Lift the arms back to shoulder height and windmill the arms down into lunge. Right heel lifts off the mat. Step back into plank position. We'll take it in 3, 2, 1. Lift and lift. Shoulder and shoulder. Keep it going, nice and steady. We've only got one last set after this. Use that to keep you going. Lift, lift, shoulder, and shoulder. Take your forearm plank. We're holding here for 5, 3, release. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale to child's. Take a rest. Forehead to mat. Slowly come back to your tabletop position. Extend left leg. Give me a crunch into lunge. Step the foot through. Step up to half lift, flattening your back. Exhale to fold, belly to thighs. Inhale as you rise to standing, nice and slow. Exhale once you get to the top. Deep breath in through the nose, lift arms overhead. Slow breath out the mouth, lower hands down by your sides. We're going to move into a little bit of balancing. When we lifted our legs and plank, we were extending the low back. And so I want to give us a chance to flex and give us a roundness as a counter stretch. So we're going to be balancing on one leg, but I don't want us to really focus on the balance aspect of it, more so on the rounding of the low back. So if you know you're not the greatest with your balance and you might need a little support, take a second and move over to a wall, maybe using your fist to help support your balance. It's up to you. Once you chose whether you're staying on your mat or at the wall, you're going to shift all the weight into your left foot. Lift up on those toes, spread them nice and wide, and then lower them back to the mat. Keep that foot nice and active. Tiny micro bend in the left knee, don't lock out the joint. Stand up nice and tall. We're going to draw the right knee in towards our chest, interlace our fingers, and take a hold at the knee, keeping the foot flexed. If you have one hand on the wall, just hold on with the right hand, one hand will do. Make sure you're standing up nice and tall, drawing the belly in, pulling that knee nice and close towards the body. Don't hold the breath. We're just going to hold for another 10 seconds or so. Strengthening that standing leg, giving a nice counter stretch for our low back. As you exhale, slowly release right foot down to the mat. We're going to switch sides so all the weight's in the right foot. If you're on the wall, just turn around. Lift up those toes, spread them nice and wide, place them down to the mat. Tiny micro bend in the knee. This time, left knee draws in towards the chest. Take a hold, draw the belly in, stand up nice and tall, drop shoulders down the back, and breathe wherever you're at. Exhale, slowly lower foot down to the mat and gently bend the knees back and forth. Return to the top of your mat, standing with hips or feet hips width distance apart. Standing nice and tall at the mat once again. Gently close the eyes as we begin to slow down our movement. Just take note of how you feel on the inside. Keeping the eyes closed, inhale, lifting the arms overhead. Exhale to forward fold, eyes are still closed. Inhale, half lift, flattening the back. Exhale to plank, gently opening the eyes. Our last set of plank work here. You guys got it. 3, 2, 1. Lift and lift, tap and tap. 2 more and we're done with this plank work. You guys did it. We got through. Last time, nice and slow lifts. Don't mess it up now. And find your forearm plank. We aim to hold for 15 seconds on our last forearm plank. You are more than welcome to lower down to your belly at any time. Just make sure you're not holding your breath. You're still in alignment. Core is nice and active. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Oh. This time, bringing your arms down the sides of your body, palms face up. Lower your head so one cheek is resting on the mat. Bring your toes together and let the heels fall out. Wiggle shoulders away from the ears. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose Exhale out through the mouth and relax completely onto your mat. Taking a much deserved rest here. My eyes always naturally close in this position. Maybe you notice you did the same. And perhaps if you want a deeper stretch in your neck in this rest position, turn your head so you're resting more on your ear than you are your cheek. Slowly turning your head to the opposite side, starting on your cheek first. And then moving to the ear if you did so on the opposite side. From here, bring your chin to the mat. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. And we'll press into a rounded child's pose. Hips to heels, arms along the sides of the body, palms face up, and forehead to mat. By all means, if you're more comfortable in puppy pose, take puppy instead. Take a short rest here. In rounded child's, melt the shoulders down towards the floor. Slowly start to rise to a seated position. You swing your legs out in front of you so they're down the length of your mat, starting with the feet flexed. Lift the arms overhead, drop chin to chest, and then round the spine into a rounded back stretch, placing hands to the knees, elbows facing out to either side of the room. Melt the shoulders away from the ears once again and take a few deep breaths here. Decompressing the spine. Relieving tension in the muscles along the back side of the body. Nice deep breaths are key here. So if you find it difficult to take deep breaths, ease out of the roundness in the spine just a bit. Slowly begin to lift the spine upright, placing hands on either sides of your hips. Find some length in your spine before you relax back to a neutral position. Bend your right knee, placing foot to mat. Use your left arm to hold on to the bent knee. Open into spinal twist, placing right hand directly behind you, gazing out over the right shoulder. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall, belly's drawing in. And include your gaze in the twist too, so looking out towards the right corner of your eyes. Full body twist. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale out through the mouth, gently unwind and come back to center, straightening the leg down the mat. Bend left knee, placing foot to floor. Right arm holds on, opening the twist, gazing out towards the left, including the gaze. Sitting up nice and tall. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale out the mouth to unwind. Straightening the leg. Shift into the center of your mat so that you're sitting in the center. And then bend both knees, placing feet to mat, and place hands on the back of your thighs. Nice, slow, and controlled, one vertebrae at a time. We're going to round our spine until we're flat on our back. Nice and slow to engage our core. Walk the feet in a little closer to the body. Place your arms at shoulder height, palms face up. We're going to take one last set of core work here. If you're completely done, your body's tired, please don't force yourself. Just let your knees collapse into yourself. Maybe close your eyes. And just take a few breaths here. Stay here for the remainder of the next exercise. If you want to welcome the challenge, lift your feet so they're off the mat, stacking knees right over the hips and flex the feet. Make sure your low back is pressed flat to the mat. We want to remove the arch of the low back. That's key in this exercise. Place your fingertips to the back of your head, keeping elbows out towards either side of the room. And you want to resist from tucking your chin to your chest. Make sure your chin stays lifted up towards the ceiling. So let me demo the first time through. I'm going to lower one heel down to the floor. Nice, slow, and controlled, keeping my low back to the mat. And then I'll lift and crunch towards my lifted knee. Chin doesn't tuck to the chest. I lower down and I lift the heel. I'll do the same on the other side in that mixed one. We'll go for about 3 or 5, depending on time. So if you're joining me in this exercise, go ahead and lift the heels off the mat. That flex the feet, knees over hips, low back to mat. Let's lower the right heel, nice and slow and controlled. Keep that low back flat and give me a crunch. Heel lifts back to our starting position. Low back should stay flat to the mat entirety of the exercise. Left heel lowers down, nice and slow. Give me a crunch and lower. Heel lifts, that makes 1. Let's just make it 3 today. Heel lowers. Give me a crunch. Heel lifts. Lower the left. Give me a crunch. Heel lifts. Last time through, low back should still be on the mat. Lower the right heel. Give me a crunch. Heel lifts. Elbows stay out to either side of the room. Lower left heel. Give me a crunch. Lift the heel. Draw knees into chest, lower heels down towards the glutes, and hold on to the legs, pulling them nice and close to the body. If you feel any discomfort in the knees here, you can hold on to the backs of the thighs instead. And nice and slow, just rock side to side. Just giving us a little bit of a massage to those muscles on the back side of our body. Find some stillness and gently close the eyes if they're not closed already. Place your arms out at shoulder height, palms face up to the ceiling. Lower your knees over to the right side of the floor into reclined spinal twist. Maybe the knees touch all the way to the floor. Make sure to keep the knees stacked. Gently turn your head to the left. If you feel any pinching in the back, lower the knees away from the hands. If perhaps you want a little deeper twist, you can inch those knees up towards the hand just a little bit. Make sure left shoulder is still pressing into the floor. We'll take some breaths here. Our last pose before final resting pose. Inhale to draw the knees back into chest. Exhale as they lower over to the left and head turns to the right. This time, right shoulder pressing down towards the floor. And if you made any adjustments with your knees on the other side, do the same here. To draw the knees back to chest and exhale here. Wrap the arms around the knees, either on the thighs or on the front of the shins, pulling them nice and close to the body. Keep the eyes closed. Gently lift your head to meet your knees. Take a nice deep breath in. Hold at the top. Squeeze everything nice and tight. Your legs, your arms, the muscles in your face, your toes. And as you exhale, we'll release. Laying flat on the mat, separating the legs and arms nice and wide apart, let the toes fall out. And settle into our final resting pose, where we aim to remain still in our body, moving out of the physical and moving into a period of reflection. We'll stay just 2 or 3 minutes here. Try to keep your focus on your breath, following the rise and the fall of your chest. Or maybe focusing on the breath as it moves in and out past your nostrils. Just let any and all thoughts come and go as they please, not holding on to any moment. Just keeping your focus on your breath. to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Welcome movement back into your body. Gently roll over to the right side of your body, taking a moment of stillness on your side, perhaps using your arm as a pillow. Keeping your eyes closed or your gaze low to the floor, gently press yourself up into a seated position. To end class, we'll take 3 cleansing breaths together as one. That's breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. We'll take a 3-part breath today. So we inhale, filling the belly, the ribs, and the chest. And when we exhale, we'll do it the opposite direction, releasing chest, ribs, and then belly. We'll all start on an exhale. Go ahead and breathe out now. Breathe in through the nose, filling the belly, the ribs, the chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, and belly. Breathe into the belly, the ribs, the chest. Release the chest, the ribs, and the belly. Last time, filling the belly, filling the ribs, filling up the chest, exhaling from the chest, exhaling from the ribs and the belly. Take a second to thank yourself and particularly thank your body for being patient and getting you through this practice. And I want to thank you as well for letting me lead you on this practice. Namaste. So thanks for joining me, you guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed teaching it to you guys. If you have questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.